While Fuller House is a family show, the Fullest House podcast is not. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Fullest House podcast, a joke that has gone on way too long. I'm Mark Greene.
I'm Harrison Bloom.
And I'm Zach Horowitz. And guys, today is a very special episode for two reasons. The first reason being this episode is being scheduled to release on July 19th, 2021, which is the 1 year anniversary of when we released our first episode. So that's pretty cool. Can't believe we made it a full year, which brings us to...
I didn't think we would.
Yeah, which brings me to the second reason why this is a very special episode. We're celebrating our 1 year anniversary by having an actual cast member of the show on the podcast today. So
Yeah.
Very special guest.
we're bringing in the one and only Jackson J. Money Fuller himself. Michael Campion is here on the podcast, guys. I'm super excited.
We should have said it before because we might do it by habit. We almost exclusively refer to Jackson as J Money.
I refer to myself as J Money, so it's fine.
Oh, perfect.
Hell
Perfect.
Yeah.
It works out so well.
Just rolling with it. It's great. How are you doing today?
How am I doing today? Fabulous. Excited to be on the podcast. I didn't even know that you guys existed until today, so this is great. I want to know. So like, you guys are like reviewing like Fuller House episodes, or like what's the what is the?
Yeah,
Pretty
we are one by one. We're watching through the entire show. We each week we watch an episode and we sort of recap it and review it and make jokes about it. We're not always the kindest, but we love this show. We actually we started watching this show because it was. I think it's a little bit of a sweet story.
Yeah.
It was like we had just graduated high school and we were looking for something to just kind of watch, and while we hung out and reminisced about the good old times, and we just had it never stopped, and we just kept going and
Yeah,
going.
and then once quarantine hit, we had all been thinking for a while about possibly creating something together, and we came up with the idea of what if we just started rewatching Fuller House again and making a podcast about it. And we've been at it for a year now, which is honestly really crazy to me.
Yeah, and like our thoughts on the show have changed quite a bit, and it's given us like a new appreciation for everything. It's really just been a blast.
I think it's weird because at the beginning of it, I think it was each week I was looking forward to hanging out with my friends, and now I'm looking forward to hanging out with my friends, and I'm looking forward to watching the show.
Oh yeah.
Each week.
It's crazy just to watch like what's gonna happen each week, how our favorite characters are doing. You know, J Money is obviously one of our favorites, so we're really excited to have you on the show.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. You guys probably know way more about the show than I do. This is like...
So it's going to be a great podcast.
It's gonna be a great podcast. I'm learning so much about my own show. No, that's awesome though. That's a very sweet story. I really didn't know that anyone out there liked Fuller House enough to like do something like this. So this is great. But yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate being awesome fans. You guys are literally like the honorary fans of the year. That's super cool.
That's great.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for indulging us and coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
I'll see if I can find honorary fan awards and order them online.
There you go.
I'm sure somebody makes that.
All right. Well, enough about the podcast. I'm sure our listeners would love to know more about you. So, like, what's your story? How did you first get involved with Fuller House, and what was that like?
What's my story and how did I get involved in Fuller House? Well, it was a pretty crazy story, actually, how I actually ended up getting to be on the show. But like I've been acting since I was 5, and getting something like this, first of all, like prefacing, is crazy, like jackpot show. The fact that everything went so smooth and everyone loved each other so much, and how awesome it was on set is pretty much unheard of on like any show, just how like intense the chemistry was and everything. But anyways, getting on the show, I live in Orlando most of the time, Orlando, Florida, and I will get these self-tapes sent to me from my agent, and I do them, whenever they come through. I'll go to this place that I do my self-tape set. Do you guys know what a self-tape is, by the way, for an audition?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you want to explain for anybody in the audience who might not know.
Yeah, sure. So whenever a project comes around, casting directors, the people who are actually casting the actors, will go to agencies and they'll say, hey, we need people in this age range with this look or whatever. And then either they say, come into our casting office and audition, or you can do a self-tape with a reader on the other side reading the other lines, and you're just basically recording yourself do it. And then you submit it, and that's how it's been for, however many years. Anyway, so I get a self-tape for like Untitled Sitcom 4. Don't know what it is. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I do it, and then I leave. And then I get a callback for it, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, callback for anything is big. It's like, oh, okay, this is great. I do another self-tape for it. And then by the third time, they asked me back again, and then they revealed the title. It's like, hey, this is Fuller House, like the sequel to Full House. And I was like, I loved Full House because I watched it like on Nick at Night. I watched with like George Lopez and Friends and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
This is my childhood as well. Watching reruns of older sitcoms on Nick at Night.
Right. Exactly. So I got cultured with Full House and all that, and then they asked me to like change my look. They asked me to like change like what I was wearing, because in the beginning Jackson was not the character that you see right now. It was very different. It's super different because they wanted him to be like an Uncle Jesse type, like skater kid. Yeah. That's how it was in like the very first.
That makes so much sense. Because we talk a lot about, phrasing it sort of jokingly, that he went from a bit of a bad boy to, I guess, a lot of a sad boy.
Yeah.
And I'd never thought about the Uncle Jesse thing, but that makes so much sense in trying to create that dynamic.
Like, now that you mention it, it does make a lot of sense, where it's like, I guess he is the Uncle Jesse of the kids in a way.
Just they're the new arrivals in the house, just like Uncle Jesse was, and he's the cool guy. And
Right, exactly. And you guys are getting like some exclusive stuff here. Like I've never like talked about this amount of level. Also, his character name was JD in the beginning, which was so on the nose to DJ.
Oh, JD.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
I was like, come on. Wow. Like Jackson Douglas or some BS.
I think I would have caught that. Like we would have gotten like halfway into season 2 and I would have been, wait a minute. Oh man. John Doe Fuller.
Yeah, that was really funny. But originally the character was JD, and he was a bit of like a Uncle Jesse type character. And I submitted my third self tape, and then I think what happened was this part is unclear because this was like between my agents and them, but something got lost in translation to where they wanted me out there, but I couldn't make it, or like they didn't tell me that I needed to be out there at a particular time. And so like out in LA to go audition for like my final one. And so it got lost in translation somehow. And then they actually gave the part to another kid.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was not Jackson in the beginning. It was really strange. And so after I heard that, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Hey, you get so far, you do what you can, it's all good. And then I go back to my self-tape place doing a completely different self-tape for something completely different. And my mom is in the waiting room. I'm 13. I'm sorry. I'm 12 at this point. I'm 12. And my mom in the other room gets an email from the casting director saying, hey, the kid that we got, like the chemistry or whatever was not working. And we are like 3 days into rehearsal, and we want Michael to go on tape right now, literally right this second, and send a tape. And I went, what? And so I went to the Walmart across the street. I changed my clothes. I was like, holy crap, I got to stop this self-tape that I'm doing right now. I did this one. I sent it an hour later. They're like, okay, we want you out in LA, like literally as soon as you possibly can. So
this is like a sitcom plot. I'd love to see this as a sitcom plot.
I know, right? I know. And so literally they the next morning, as soon as I could, I got there. It was me and my mom. It was like, we landed at 7 a.m. It's a 5-hour flight, 3 hours behind. I'm wiped out. And we get picked up in a limo, which was crazy. And then we get taken all the way over to Warner Brothers and in their casting office. But it was like way too early. This was like, I don't even know what time it was, but way before any of the offices were even operating at this point. So me and my mom, we sat in the the security guard let us sit in the like employee break room so I could like get ready and do stuff. But I was sitting there for like several hours before a casting director came in and was like, "Hey, how you doing? All right, come back here." And I get there and I sit down at this chair in this hallway, and there's one other kid there, and they take him in. He does this thing. They take me in. I do my thing, and it was very scary going in because there was these two like big lights at this de-elevated platform. It almost and there were all these elevated like rows that you'd almost see like in a college.
Oh yeah, in like a lecture hall.
Yeah, in a lecture hall type deal, but it was much smaller, and that was all the producers, all the writers, everyone in there.
Oh, so it was like packed.
It was like packed in there, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and this was like
pressure.
the final. This is like super pressured, and I was like,
wow.
Holy crap! So I go down, I do my thing. They liked it a lot. They were asking a lot about me, asking a lot about my mom. I was like, yeah, I live in Orlando. My mom, she works at Disney World or whatnot. She's a fairy godmother. Wow. They thought that was really cool.
I think that's really cool. I'm a big Disney person.
Disney person?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying that because of something that's going to go on in just a moment.
No, go ahead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just a little thing. But anyways, I finished my audition, go out to the room, and the agent comes in and she's like, "Hey, you to the other kid, you can head on back, but Michael, we need to tell you your hotel information." I was like, "Oh, okay." So they take me and my mom into the room, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? Because everyone was like in a semicircle. There was this camera on me, and I was like, hold on, what's happening? And then they're like, no, we're not telling your hotel information. In fact, we just want to welcome you to the Netflix Fuller House family. You know, no need to do any magic, like to my mom. And it was like, here you go. And I was like, you're Jackson. I was like, whoa. And I started crying. And it was really nice. And so they have the tape somewhere, and I really want it. I want it so bad.
That sounds great, because that could very easily be a prank, like inviting you into a room and be like, ha, this was all a joke. We're not even making a TV show. Then they like throw something in your face.
Some like random, some elaborate prank on like a random 12-year-old.
Just pranking a random 12-year-old, just rushing his dreams. That's the funniest thing.
Oh no!
I'm very glad it went the other way.
No, definitely went. I didn't even consider. Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, it definitely felt like a setup for a prank. But literally, I was turning 13 this week, so like this was like the week of my birthday. Wow. Coolest birthday present I've ever gotten. They handed me a script. They cut my hair the next day, and I was literally on set shooting. Like my life took like a 180, and so and that never happens, by the way, where they get you on set and like the next day shooting. It's like a usually long process. You have weeks to fill out blah 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 to write contracts or whatever. Nope, they didn't like the other guy, and they were already 2 days into rehearsal, which is as many days as we have for rehearsal. And it was crazy. Actually, fun little thing. Yeah. The thing I was self-taping for the day they asked me to like do my final audition, actually the other kid that.
Oh wow!
So it was a nice little like flip flop.
Yeah, that's like more sitcom plot. You switched with the other actor. What was it like shooting the pilot and doing that kind of turnaround? Did you have any rehearsal?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was it like building chemistry with the rest of the cast? Because you said you literally were cast, and then the next day you were like, we're shooting the pilot, and it seems like the rest of the cast, like they all had those 2 days of rehearsal to like get to know each other. So what was it like to just kind of be thrown in at the last minute?
Dude, it was insane. Like legit. I remember the very first person I met was Andrea Barber. Mm-hmm. And like I didn't know how they looked. I didn't know like what was going on. And you know, sometimes when you're like a child actor, you grow up and you don't really look like how you were when you were a kid. And she looks exactly like Kimmy. And I was like, oh my God, that was Kimmy. That was crazy that I just met. So that was like my first interaction with anyone. But honestly, like building chemistry, first of all of them already have so much chemistry that me coming in or all the kids coming in was so smooth, such a smooth transition because they already had 30 years of chemistry, you know, and they're already friends and super comfortable. So that was pretty easy, but it was like just the culture shock and just like how much, like just a sensory overload. I mean, you pretty much get not like famous overnight, but like it happened that fast. And honestly, as like a 13-year-old, it was really, really crazy, really, really cool. And honestly, the best experience of my entire life. So
wow, that's great. Is there anyone on the cast you like clicked with right away or that you formed a particularly strong connection with?
that I clicked with right away. It's hard to say because there wasn't like one person that I had even enough time to like hang out with off of set. I mean, like I'd say, I mean, I'm not picking favorites, but the one that I like hung out with the most was Andrea, and because she has a son, his name is Tate, and we hung out like towards the later seasons too. So yeah, I got to spend a lot of time with her, and it's so weird because they literally feel like a second family to me. Like we'll go out and we'll do like family things, family gatherings. In fact, we're probably gonna have like a small reunion.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice.
That's great.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're still close with anybody.
Yeah, definitely still. I mean, it's been hard because everything's been shut down in California. So this like things were literally just lifted. What is today? The 19th, like the 15th, things were just lifted here. So now we can like actually hang out, which should be pretty cool.
That's great. I mean, you said you didn't really have time to do much. Like, what was the process of making the show like, and what was it like being in that environment? And also, like, I'm just curious if you have any like really distinct memories to share with us.
Yeah. Well, it was honestly, man, it's so interesting because each season had like a very new, distinct thing for me. And I remember in the very beginning, I didn't know how to like be on a sitcom. Like I didn't know like the rules. I didn't know any of that. So like the learning curve was pretty sharp in season 1. But by the time season 2 and 3 came around, I was pretty much on my feet. And then 4 and 5, like I could do a 4-camera sitcom in my sleep, and like I know like the rules and like how to do stuff and things. So learning all that I think was the hardest bit. But man, each season they started writing more and more stuff for me because I was really trying my hardest and like nailing all the stuff. And it was super cool doing all the like physical comedy and also with my character, they shifted from that like Uncle Jesse type deal towards, after they had met me, they were like, oh, we're gonna write more towards his personality. And so what you see as Jackson is literally like a very sitcom version of me.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's
we've maybe been mean to you.
Oh no, that's hilarious. I love that.
No, we love Jackson, but we
the writers love to dunk on me a lot of the time.
So like that change in his character over these seasons, like was that a discussion you had with the writers, or did they just like notice that you performed better in like scenes that better resonated with your personality?
Or was there like a moment where you got a script and you're like, oh, I see what they're doing?
I think it slowly developed over time. Like in season 1, they were really trying to find what he was about. Like he like skated and he was like doing stuff. I don't know. He was like into motorcycles for a second there. I don't know what was going on, but I think by season 2, they had made a gradual shift. But I know that season 1 was a little rocky. There wasn't like a moment where I went, hey, do it like this. But they did ask me, where do you want your character to go? Like, what do you think is best? Do you have any suggestions? And I was like, yeah, I mean, here's what I do. And they thought that was really great for me, and I played those well. Also, the Ramona is a very sitcom version of Sony, and Max is a very sitcom version of Elias. So it's like we're all pretty in that.
We love, I mean, it was a thing of like, as the show goes on, we just gained such an affection for all the new characters that were introduced. Like we've honestly said, like we would watch a sitcom that's just Jackson, Ramona, and Max.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
I joke about that. It's like we had like a spinoff and we're like in college, like maximum capacity apartment or some.
I'm sure we've pitched that spinoff before. That's something we do like every episode. We just pitch like some sort of spinoff based on something that happened in the show. Usually it involves J Money fighting crime.
Yeah, it's often like Fernando goes off to Europe, becomes a masked crime fighter.
It's like a dream sequence in one of the. Yeah, that's
love them in college. I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
We often try to find out who would be like the Chandler of the group, who would be the Ross of the group.
Yeah, you know what's so funny? Friends shot on our stage.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
Wow!
Yeah, and they. So I have gosh, I really want to say I have Matt LeBlanc's dressing room, which was super cool. The one who played Joey.
No.
Which is perfect because J Money really is like the Joey of the group, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then I don't know if you guys have seen like the Friends reunion, but they like tour like the stage and like all the stuff, and that's like where we shot Fuller House.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we actually did a little bit of research on you coming in just because like we were like, oh, we should probably come up with some other things to talk about, maybe other than Fuller House. And we actually found that you performed at the Magic Castle before. You do magic as well. So what's that like? How is that? Like, how is it being a real life wizard, essentially?
Yeah, I know. Like, I love magic and loved magic as a kid, but I never like had the discipline to really learn.
Oh yeah.
So like, what was it like getting into magic, and also, or were you, born with supernatural powers?
Yes, I actually attended Hogwarts. It's the whole deal. When I was 8, my aunt and uncle, who were professional clowns at the time,
Oh wow.
and are now Santa and Mrs. Claus professionally, like legit.
I really love that.
They got me my first magic kit. Honestly, my whole family is very magical on my mom's side. Like, she's the fairy godmother, Santa Claus, all that stuff. It's great. So I just fell in love with it. I mean, I already have a very like extroverted performing type personality, so that was just another great outlet. And I love like tricking people. I love like pranking area. So that was also really cool. And I started when I was 8. I did it till I was like 11-ish, and then I took a really big break. It just fell off the map for me. And then when I was, I think I was 15, I went back to Florida for like in the off season, and I was like, why haven't I been performing magic? Like, what is happening? Like, all of a sudden it just was like, where's this been this whole time? And so I went down back to this place, this magic shop that's actually close by to my house. And I started like getting back on it, performing stuff there, learning like actual card tricks. And then by the time I came back to LA, there's another magic shop near my house, and I was chilling there, getting to know the people. And then I met these 2 kids there who were like dressed in suits. And I was like, oh, where are you guys coming from? And they're like, oh, from the Magic Castle. We're junior members. I went, what? I'm going there. I'm becoming a junior member right now. And so I took a couple months to come up with like an act. So you have to like audition with a 5-minute act. And I came up with one, and there are only 24 kids auditioned. Like, I think 3 got in for that year. I was like one of them, which was really cool.
Great.
The Magic Castle was a very low acceptance rate for the junior member program. And yeah, and then I started performing there. So like once you're in the program, then you can audition to actually perform at the castle on weekends. So I've been performing there since 2018. So it's been really cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's been great.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was like, it just made sense, especially now that you say that Jackson is just like a more sitcom version of you. It's just like, oh, it makes so much sense that Jackson does magic.
We've always thought of him as someone meant for the theater.
Yes.
I think we recorded that, and then we found that out, and then I like just recorded an episode a couple days prior, and I was like, oh, J Money would be like perfect as a magician. And then lo and behold, we just find that out like a couple days later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we're magic. Maybe we're a little psychic.
Yeah.
Maybe, hey, I don't know. Who knows? Perhaps you guys could go to the Magic Castle.
Zach, winning lottery numbers. Tell them to me right now.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Oh, all right. Check your lottery tickets right now. I'm going to give you guys a second. This is totally not me stalling, by the way. This is me giving you an opportunity
No,
to
you'd
get your
never
cards
stall.
out. And it's 5 numbers, okay? The first one is 5. The second one is 26, 33, 7, 69. If that is your lottery ticket, you just won, probably.
Wow.
If someone actually wins off of those numbers, I will bow down to you, Zach. I will.
That would be insane.
If any of you win off of those numbers, leave it in a
If
comment.
any of you
on
win
our-
off of those numbers, just know that I am legally entitled to 20% of your winnings now.
And yeah, and this episode is coming out after those numbers would win. So like we have the proof afterwards.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
That's perfect.
yeah, if you listen to this and a month before you won the lottery.
That's hilarious. You guys
Yeah.
should audition Magic Castle with that. I think that
Ooh.
would
Yes.
be great.
I'm sure
Heck
that'll
yeah.
totally get me in. Just me saying the lottery numbers and like, that's my 5 minutes.
You take 5 minutes to come up with all the numbers.
Yeah, and then I just throw like, do that thing where like you throw down like a smoke bomb, but I just stay there. So I just don't disappear.
I want to see that so bad. That's so funny.
Oh damn! Now I have to do it. Oh.
They made one reference to Jackson doing magic in the show one time.
Oh.
It was so stupid. It was like this one-off joke about the time. that I tried
breaking
to
your
do-
thumb.
Breaking my thumb. That's
Yes.
so funny that you
We
remember
just
that.
watched that episode.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They wrote that in just for me. So I was like, yeah, broke my thumb doing card magic one time. So.
Oh yeah, no, now I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. We also watched an episode where you did impressions recently.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, which one was that? The one.
It was Jackson is a little worried because he doesn't have any like extracurriculars.
Yeah.
And at one point he decides impressions are going to be his thing, and he does
I
not
do
do good
remember that.
impressions. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did I actually do any impressions?
No, I think like they
Kind
had
of.
you do an
Kind of,
Obama.
I did do an Obama
and then
impression. Yeah.
you did something else, and like the joke is they aren't good, but it was just like it was so Jackson, so quintessentially Jackson. I think he'd dip his toe in all areas of performing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on. What episode? Like, what season was this? Do you know?
This was season 4 because
Probably,
we've
We're
been watching season 4.
We're a couple episodes into season 4
Yeah.
as of the time of recording.
We have not watched season 5 at all. That's the one.
Or
season
no,
haven't
we
watched
actually
at all.
got most of the
We
way
never
through
got there,
season
actually.
5.
Yeah.
But then we started the podcast and we didn't want to. We wanted to save it for the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think we have about we got about halfway through
Yeah.
season 5.
Yeah.
And then we decided we were going to do this podcast, and we're just like, you know what? Instead of doing that, we'll just rewatch what we've seen so far, because we had been watching the show over the course of like several years at that point. So like we didn't remember every single thing. So we thought it would be a fun idea to like go back, rewatch all of that, and then when we get to that point, we'll actually be going in blind, I guess, where we haven't
Interesting.
actually seen the
Yeah,
last
because
few
we would
episodes.
like go off to college and like keep in touch over that time, but then we'd go back
Yeah.
home, and that's when we would binge Fuller House together. So
Pretty
the
much,
memories
yeah.
of it were a little scattered. Yeah.
Yeah. Season 5 is definitely the best in my opinion. I mean, I think it's just like the culmination of just everyone knows what they're doing, good writing, and a good wrap up. So I think I want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also something that I've been noticing, is that like the further we've been getting along, like you said, everybody definitely has a better idea of their characters, and like we've definitely seen the evolution of J Money, as we've said, from like, at the beginning we just kept making a joke where he's, a bit of a bad boy, and now he's just a sad boy. When we say sad boy, we mean that in the most endearing way possible.
And I mean, there are other things like I think they were always sort of pairing Jackson and Ramona together, but like then Max gets roped in, and I think they really hone in on that dynamic of Jackson and Ramona. We really love that dynamic. I was wondering, actually, was that sort of just like, well, they're both the kids, so we're and they're the same age, so we're pairing them together, or was that something sort of that came about based on you as actors?
I don't know, honestly, because I think that like Sony and I, the way that we talk to each other in general is like a very brother-sister relationship. So it's like it's us talking to each other on set or whatever. It's literally the exact way that we speak to each other in real life. So I don't know. I really don't, because it's strange. Like sometimes the decisions that they make, I mean, I don't like go into the writer's room and like, go and see stuff, but I know when they take stuff directly from reality, but I don't think that was like one of those conscious decisions. I think that was more in the direction of just like the kids doing their thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, my opinion. I don't know.
No, and I was also wondering, I mean, you were talking about being drawn to magic in part because of the performance element of it. And I was wondering if there was any sort of like connection you see or any commonality between your performing magic and then your acting.
Like, is there any similarities between like performing on stage, doing magic, and acting on a sitcom like Fuller House?
Yeah. Well, first of all, acting is like my passion. It's all I want to do. It's nothing but like raw performing, and magic is very, very similar. I mean, like I have to have like a persona. I have a thing that I say. I have a stuff that I do. And honestly, I have so many outlets for performing in general. Like, and honestly, just like being different people and giving people an experience. Like, I don't know, just like little stuff like Dungeons and Dragons. Like I play that with my friends. Like I'm like the DM. Like that's just another outlet for performing for me. Nice. So like being on a sitcom, that's I think me at my peak performance because I get to do what I'm best at, and that's just be like silly and have a good time and really like heighten it up to 100. So yeah, there's a huge. I mean, it's not only is there a connection, but that's my whole life. You know, that's literally like everything I do all the time. So, yeah,
for sure. It's funny how you mentioned D&D. I know we've had. I mean, the three of us have played before. Mark's been RDM. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but yeah, it's cool how you mentioned that, where it's like a whole aspect of performing. Because I think, that's really like where the fun of it comes in.
Yeah, I think I got feedback once where someone said, just on the performance element, where someone said like, yeah, you didn't know all the rules, but you did a lot of voices.
Yeah, and honestly, that's like between, I mean, Dungeons and Dragons and like Magic, I feel like the commonality is that at the end of the day, you're just performing. All the technicalities, all the BS is just there to like help guide the performance. And as much in the background as that can be, for me, like I am not a technically inclined magician at all. Like I do not know how to do like all the crazy, like I don't know if you've seen like Shin Lim, like he like deletes cards out of thin air. I don't know how. I don't know. He's a cool guy, by the way. He's at the castle a lot, but that is not my expertise. It's literally like give me a really simple thing to do, and I will make it seem like it's the coolest. Like, hey everyone, here's the show. When I'm literally just making some stupid disappear. But yeah, that's really where the heart of both. It's like a performing art for both of them.
That's good advice because we're definitely putting together an act for Zach right now.
Oh yeah. We're First I'm predicting the lottery numbers. Now we gotta get like a persona.
I'm trying to figure out how to make Zach fly.
Yes. That's a good one. Okay, I think rigging, invisible string.
Yes.
I feel like you're just going to start throwing me off of very high surfaces.
Zach, I was about to say I was going to throw you off of a high surface.
But yeah, I've definitely noticed that, like, you're right. When I've seen, like, clips of people doing magic, whether it's, like, clips of, like, America's Got Talent on YouTube and stuff like that, I've definitely noticed that, like, the guys that I'm more drawn to, maybe not so much, like, the technical aspect of it, but it's just if they can draw you in and do a good performance. I think that's really the root of like magic for me, because I think that's definitely more of like a performance as opposed to like, you know, the technical aspects where it's like, yeah, it's cool, but if there's a guy who can like draw my attention and make me laugh and like keep me interested.
Yeah, and with acting there is no like technical aspect. Like the most technical you ever get is lines, and that's just learn them, you know. So that's why I love it so much. But that's the exact reason why I hate like Shakespeare BS and like all like the weird because then they get really technical about like poetry. I'm like, nope, okay, you've already ruined it for me. It's like I can't anymore. So yeah, I don't know. My opinion on all of performing.
You mentioned like Shakespeare, and it made me think like now that Fuller House is over, do you plan on like tackling more like broad comedic roles, or do you want to explore more dramatic characters? Do you have like a preference for one or the other?
Yeah, I think now, you know, after Fuller House, I really want to go into a more dramatic role for whatever, a show, movie, whatever, because Fuller House, I got that down. I got like the comedy side down. I have a lot of experience with that, but I want other people to see like the other range of my acting, which is the more dramatic part. In fact, I'm going to school for acting right now.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah. So that's going on for the next 2 years, which is really great. And my dream role is to be a villain in a movie, a very dramatic movie. I would love that. That is just hands down, smack down, exactly what I want to do.
Do you have an evil laugh?
You know what? That's year 2 of acting.
It's a whole class.
Yeah, there's a whole year dedicated to just getting an evil laugh down.
You need so many like prerequisites for it. You know, you gotta get the right
there's
professor.
Acting 101, acting
and then
102.
There's acting 102, solely laughs.
Yeah, well, then there's just evil laughs 101, which is like the step 3.
Exactly. Yeah, you guys know
Yeah.
what's going on. Yeah, you know.
We know what's going on. We've all been through this before.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I think if I were to get like another comedic role or like on a sitcom or whatnot, I'd love it. I mean, it's what I love to do. I think that's where my strong suits are, just because I've had so much experience with it. But yeah, I definitely think that going in more serious roles and I'm gonna be an actor for the rest of my life, so I'm sure that I'll get a whole range of roles. So it's just last year's super difficult. Like literally, Fuller House ended shooting in November of 2019, and then December, January, February, March, and then everything. Like Hollywood was down, everything was down, so no roles were available. Like they're literally they just started getting back up, like a January of this year. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, I mean, especially with Fuller House ending, and because we've been watching through, I just want to know if you've seen the show and have like watched it back, what's the experience like? If you have, like, is it different watching the show back, knowing that you were on the show?
Or honestly, what's the experience of watching like any sitcom, having been on a sitcom? Do you kind of see the strings a little more?
Oh yeah, it's it's very funny. That feels like two separate questions, but the first question, rewatching me on Fuller House, very different experience, because I don't ever get that's the finished product. Like when you're in it, you only see bits and pieces, and then there's a lot that you literally never see. So it's cool. I mean, I haven't actually seen all the episodes of Fuller House. I gotta be honest with you, I haven't binged all. I've binged like ones that I really liked.
I don't listen to every episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
Sorry, Tyler.
I mean,
exactly.
Because it's like, I'm in the episode. I know what happens.
You're there. You know what happens.
Yeah.
And, it's cool when you want to see like one particular thing come to life that, you worked on. But besides that, it doesn't really. But yeah, me and my friends all the time. I have two roommates and they're both actors, and that's one of our favorite things to do is in real life, whenever there's something that turns out to be like a sitcom trope or like a cartoon trope or something like that, we will make fun of it so hard all the time. And it's just because like we're so familiar with these particular tropes, and just like tropes from movies and stuff in general. That's like our favorite bit to do.
I'll be watching a show like with my mom, and I'll say, oh, they're gonna do this, and later on that happens, and she just turns to me and it's like, how did you know? And I'm like, I watch sitcoms.
Yeah, you watch stuff so much that you just see like patterns.
Mark can predict the future.
Yeah,
predicting the future.
Exactly. Look, it just runs in the host of the podcast. Like, my specialty is lottery numbers. Mark's is predicting sitcoms.
Oh my gosh.
One is more useful than the other, I will say.
Well, Harrison, we have to figure out what yours is by the end of this podcast for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
Totally.
we'll find it. Yeah. But yeah, it's very funny watching sitcoms. Like we'll sit down and watch Seinfeld, and we love it. We love the art of sitcoms in general.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something we all can relate to here, at least the three of us, because like we'll just watch shows like this all the time, like Fuller House. I mean, God, if I start naming sitcoms, I'm gonna name a bunch of them, so I'm just gonna not do that. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when we hang out, even like if we're not watching Fuller House, I mean, obviously this started like once we all graduated high school and all went our separate ways after college, but then once we actually have time to come and see each other again, pretty much all we ever do is just watch stuff on Netflix, whether it be like a sitcom or we'll find like some weird movie on Netflix. We're like, oh, this seems like it's an interesting watch. Maybe not the most good movie out there, but it might be fun to like watch something and make fun of it.
Yeah, Netflix can be hit or miss sometimes. Like,
yeah,
they'll have a lot of good stuff, but at this literally you'll flip one thing over and it's like this low budget, like, why did you pick this? Some like foreign, like what is going on?
They just make so many things. And again, like you say, some of it is like top notch, like top of the field. And then some of it is like, oh yes, that is a plastic alien suit.
Oh yeah. You did buy this from Taiwan. Okay. Awesome.
I didn't know the aliens could go to Taiwan, but that's
it's the distant planet of Taiwan.
yeah, but yeah, it's I feel like that's been the pattern for a lot of just content nowadays. It's the quality. It's oversaturated is a good word. So what are you gonna do?
So watching Fuller House, we've realized like even now there's just been a whole lot of TV revivals. Like the new iCarly just dropped. I know Mark and we've seen the first couple episodes of that, and there's been a whole lot of like reboots of stuff from earlier as like new TV shows, and like Fuller House, I guess. I mean, it's not really a reboot; it's more like a sequel series. But that kind of came before.
So it is a
everyone else started doing it. It's more of a revival in a way, but I guess different.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Like we between seasons, we watch an episode of a different show. We watched an episode of Boy Meets World, and it was because I was like going down a rabbit hole of watching clips of Girl Meets World on YouTube. Not that I've ever really watched the show, but I just had this fascination with it. And after a while, I was like, oh, it's the same reason I'm deeply fascinated with Fuller House. Just these shows reviving things.
We should also bring up the reason why we watched that specific episode of Boy Meets World is because Candace Cameron Bure was on that episode of Boy Meets World.
She was a witch.
Yeah, she was a witch.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I put on this episode because I knew she was in it, and she's like, there are two roommates. She starts dating one of them, and I was like, oh, it's the thing. She gets in between the roommates, and she's like a mean girl and doesn't like the one roommate. And then halfway through the episode, it's revealed, no, she's just an actual witch trying to sacrifice one of the roommates to her dark master.
Trying to like bring Satan into the world.
Yes.
Literally.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, usually like if we're coming up with stuff we usually have like, as Mark said, we usually have like a buffer episode in between each season, just I guess to kind of like give us a break, allow us to like refresh a bit before the next season. And Mark came to us one day and was like, guys, we need to watch this episode of Boy Meets World. And I had not seen any of the show up until that point, but all he told me was that like Candace Cameron Bure is in it and she is a witch. And boy, was that an interesting watch through.
That's so funny.
I watched the next episode as well, and it's really weird because the next episode has like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and all of the characters are like transplanted into World War II, and I was like, this is not what I knew Boy Meets World was.
This is an acid trip. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the reboots, like, Fuller House definitely falls into that category, revival, whatever. Don't take this to me like toot my own horn or whatever, because, I just only like one very small part of the whole production, but our show really did a lot of it right where a lot of others failed, and like ours doesn't give off, in my opinion, the as intense of like a cash grabby vibe that like a lot of these other ones are like, hey, we're doing this because nostalgia, like Fuller House feels like more of its own separate entity in a lot of ways.
I think that is true in that, I mean, we joke a lot about like when something comes up from Full House, we'll say, oh, remember Full House? But especially as the show goes on, and as I think they start understanding the newer characters and using the newer characters more, like it does kind of become its own entity.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't like season one. Season one feels very much so like in the world of like hey, remember Full House?
That's something I noticed when we were watching through, because we had just started watching it randomly because we were just like looking for something to do after we graduated high school. And we were just like, oh, we'll just put on Fuller House because it's like, oh, what's this show going to be? It's like this weird, like, Full House reboot.
If I remember correctly, like Harrison and I, like, Zach, you hadn't seen Full House. Like Harrison and I had, but you hadn't.
You're really just exposing me in front of Michael here. But yeah, no, I wasn't super familiar with Full House. He wasn't
on Full House. What
No, it's all good. Yeah.
It's definitely weirded for me because it's like I haven't seen the actual show. And especially in season one where there are just so many, like, especially the pilot. There's that first episode where they bring back Danny, Jesse, and Joey, and Becky, and like all the entire cast of Full House, and it just kind of feels like a reunion special more than like an actual separate show.
Yeah, the pilot sort of felt like a retroactive finale.
It definitely turns into more of its own thing as they introduce more characters and they give the newer characters more focus. Like it doesn't feel like Full House anymore just because we have like Jackson, Ramona, and Max doing their own thing. We've got Fernando. We've got Jimmy. We've got,
these are all our favorite characters.
Yeah, I think we've just realized as we go along, all our favorite characters are just the ones that were introduced in Fuller House.
Yeah.
And we enjoy we like Steve a lot.
We do like Steve a lot. Steve is great.
Let me tell you my favorite. You said Jimmy. Jimmy is by far my favorite, not only character, but he's actor like Adam Hagenboo. He is so funny and so professional. Like if you guys watch another episode, you gotta pay attention to Jimmy in the background because he is making he is reacting to every single thing that happens, bar none, and it is so hilarious. Just I'll be in a scene with him, I'll look over and he's like doing something, and every time makes me laugh so hard. It's great.
I actually pointed this out when we were watching. I think the latest episode we've watched at the time of recording was there was a whole plot line
it was Lamaze class.
The Lamaze class, and there was a whole thing where like Kimmy was doing this dramatic reenactment of Ramona's birth, and you can see, and I had them like, because we usually watch it together, and I was like, guys, go back, because I noticed in the background Jimmy was doing all these like big facial reactions, like, guys, you need to go back and see this because Jimmy is absolutely killing it. Yeah. Like, there are so many moments where we're just like, we love Jimmy. He's so great. I was reminded of this just because I was this is the episode that we just released, was the season 4 premiere, the Christmas episode, where there's a point where Jimmy like comes out. He's like trying to convince Max that like Christmas is a good thing again. He just comes out and just like breaks a board with his forehead. And that was one moment where we had to like pause the episode because people were laughing so hard. It's just we were like, what is this?
He's so good. He's so good at playing Jimmy. It's ridiculous. And him as a person and as an actor, he's a very, very good actor, like dramatic too. So this is like, he graduated from like acting college. So the fact that he's taking in all these like skills that he has and putting it over here into this sitcom, which doesn't really need it. I mean, the amount of work that he puts in, but it elevates it so much. I love it.
So committed.
Yeah, I remember like, especially at first, like on our first watch through, we saw that and we're like, oh, this is like a new character. It's Kimmy's brother Jimmy Gibbler. And he's just like, oh, he's just like this random like idiot character. And then we just kept watching it. And especially on the watch through again, knowing what we do now, he's just turned into one of our favorites.
Yeah, because it seems like they wanted him to be the new Kimmy Gibbler, weirdly enough, even though that sounds counterintuitive. Like, but he just took on a whole life of his own just through his performance and through the writing later on. It's so good.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess one question I wanted to ask was like, what's your favorite memory from working on Full House? Like, what's also like the most meaningful scene for you in the show, if you had to pick one out?
The most meaningful scene and favorite memory. Oh man, that's a pretty big question. So many good memories, like from the production and so many things that like you just totally had to be there for. Gosh. I think that my favorite, I'll start my favorite scene. My favorite scene, or like the most meaningful one to me, was actually in season 5. It was actually towards the very end, but it was oh my gosh, I don't even think you guys have seen it because you said you stopped it like midway, but like a small spoiler, Jackson books the part that Ramona really wanted in the play. And then he like fakes being sick or whatever so she can go like do it because she's his understudy because she really wanted it. And then the whole thing culminates at the end. It's like, oh, she finds out he wasn't actually sick, whatever. And then they have like this really like this big heart to heart. And I started crying like for real in the scene itself. And it was like, because it was towards the end of season 5 and I was feeling a lot of like real emotions. Like because of it was the end and the fact that like this is probably like one of the last times I do something like this, and also the connection that I had with Sony and all that, and that was a really like powerful moment for me. So when you guys watch that, like that all that was super genuine just from the show ending and a lot of emotions. So yeah, you guys haven't seen it, but once you do,
we'll definitely try to.
That's great.
We'll definitely try to keep an eye out for that when we do.
Yeah,
no, that's awesome.
I think it was the second to last episode. Yeah.
Oh wow, just like the show was like cut right. So like, what was that like? Were there any sort of missed opportunities you felt, or do you think there was something like robbed as the show was cut maybe a little shorter than you wanted it to?
It's tough to say because we ended at the same time that like Full House was ending, like 18 going off to college. Like it was. But we also started later. So like I wasn't 10, I was 13. And so it was like 3 years, like, so we didn't have as many seasons to explore like all that stuff, which was totally fine. But I think personally that season 5 was good. If we went one more season, I believe it would have played, it would have worked well. But I think season 5, the way that they ended it and the way that it wrapped up and the way that everything was in season 5 was just was great. It didn't feel like too too sudden or too abrupt, just from the way that it played out. Oh gosh, I think that they could have started like setting up things in season 4 to start winding down in season 5 a little bit more, because it felt like they started doing things in season 4 that could have led into like another whole season of stuff. That's the only gripe that I have. That's like the one and only thing. But I feel like the way that they left it was big and bold and as good as you could have asked for, in my opinion.
That's really nice to hear. I'm glad.
Yeah. So what was it like? I know we've been talking a lot about like a lot of the other characters on Fuller House, but I think there's one big omission that we haven't really been talking about recently, and that's Rocky, who was like had a big thing with J Money. So what was that like with the whole Rocky thing? We also have a question here, because we've been debating our ship name for you and Rocky, and we just want to know your opinion. J Rocky or Rock Money?
Oh gosh,
I personally am team Rock Money. This is not in a way to sway you, it totally is, but
I like Rock Money. I gotta be honest, Rock Money's rock. Yeah, I like Rock Money. That's funny.
Rock Money, and so it shall be.
You heard it here first.
From now on, we will only refer to it
straight
as
from
Rock
the horse's
Money.
mouth. Rock Money.
Rock Money. All right, perfect. What? So like, what was that like? Well, I think it was very interesting for Jackson to have Rocky. I mean, that's like the perfect, gosh,
foil character, like a contrast.
Yeah, exactly. For Jackson, and challenges him, and he actually ends up standing up for himself, which is really great. And I love Landry, by the way, the one who plays Rocky. She's fabulous, and yeah, I mean, I think she was very well written. I think the parts that she had to play was great, and she did it so well. And and all those times that she punches me, that was for real. And
you didn't cry.
We have a big compilation just like of 30 seconds straight of her punching me, and it's so funny.
I love it.
Like every take. Yeah, I wish. Oh gosh, I wish I could play like the blooper reel for you guys. You guys would get a huge kick out of it.
Ooh, yes.
I will say one of our favorite J Money moments is when Rocky punches you, and then you just turn around and you just go, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry," and we're just like, this is just the epitome of Jackson's entire character. We love our sad boy.
We love our sad boy.
It's funny because we did mention this quickly before we started recording, but we do have a segment at the end of every episode where we just do the sad boy of the week, which is just like our favorite character who's like the most pathetic in an entertaining way in every episode. And like, I think going into it, we expected it to be like a pretty close race, but Jackson has just run away with it at this point. Like,
it's in part because we love him so much.
Yeah, anytime he has like a good moment, we're like, okay, he's in the running.
Yeah, like when we say sad boy of the week, we mean this in the most endearing way possible.
Yeah. Oh no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
And like J Money is one of our favorite. Like ever since it was like towards the middle or the end of season 1, where like you first referred to yourself as J Money, and we were all just like, oh, he's J Money now. We're referring to him only as J Money.
We thought we imagined it at first. Like we were waiting for the episode where he calls himself J Money for the first time.
We went back on the watch through, and we didn't know when exactly that moment came up. And it was in like episode 9 of season 1 or something like that, around that range. And we thought it was like much, much earlier. So like in the beginning, we just called the character Jackson for a while, and we were like, oh, it's just so weird to be calling him Jackson because we're so used to referring to him as J Money in normal conversation.
We genuinely did start.
Yeah, it got to the point where we genuinely thought we made it up, and then when it finally happened, we all just started celebrating. It was one of the we all just went crazy because it's so good.
It's so good.
So we had questions.
We had sort of a rapid fire questions, a little different than some of the other questions. Number 1, ghosts, real or not real?
Real.
Love it.
What's your favorite type of bread?
Sourdough.
I just want to preface, I know we're going lightning round. That's a joke conversation starter that I made up in like middle school, thinking like that's such a stupid thing. Nobody would ever have an answer. Everybody always has an answer.
It's also just because the story that you keep telling me is that you brought this up one day at just like a crowded lunch table in middle school. I just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And you asked the question, and immediately, just like Michael just did just there, immediately someone was like, sourdough.
That was
And-
the exact moment.
So like that's why when you said it, I was immediately like, no fucking way. He just said that immediately. But anyway, lightning round. Out of the Fuller House cast, who do you think would survive the longest in a zombie apocalypse? And follow-up question, who would die first?
Who would survive the longest, you said?
Yeah.
Yes. Who'd survive the longest?
Matt would survive the longest, and Jackson would die first.
Those feel very right.
Yeah. You're very self-aware, and we appreciate that.
Where do babies come from?
Where do babies come from? Oh God, K.
Well, you can pass if you
there
want.
you go.
Storks. Who knows?
J Money or Action Jackson? There is a correct answer.
That's J Money, hands down.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
We were very upset when like season 2 started, and they started like he started calling himself Action Jackson. We were like, no, you had the perfect nickname.
Spider monkeys or monkey spiders?
Oh, spider monkeys. That's monkey spiders is just terrifying.
That would be terrifying.
You know, I didn't write that question in the rapid fire, but now that you mention it, that does sound kind of terrifying, but also kind of cool. Like, could you imagine having that as a pet?
That's
That'd be
awful.
awesome.
As a I think I'd still be pretty off put by it.
What are you working on right now that we can plug in a completely organic fashion?
Or
Yeah.
maybe are you working on anything right now that we can plug in a completely organic fashion?
Organic fashion. No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Come see me at the Magic Castle. There you go.
Hey, there we
Love
go.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I guess just here's another question I just randomly thought of. What else do you kind of do just like in your spare time? Because I know you said you've been, you know, everything's been kind of shut down the past year and like you haven't had much time to do any acting. But like, what have you been doing in your spare time, like other than acting or performing magic? Is there anything else that like would be interesting that you'd want the fans to know?
Anything interesting? I mentioned earlier I like playing Dungeons and Dragons. I read a lot. I play. I don't know if you see. I play bass occasionally.
Oh, nice. I'm a drummer myself, so
Oh, sweet. That's
Yeah.
great.
Zach and Harrison were in a band. I was not cool
Oh,
enough
God.
to be in the band.
Not cool enough. Hey, you could be the roadie. There you go.
there we go.
I like working out. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much like what my day consists of is magic,
That's great.
acting,
Hey, that's
reading,
great.
working out. I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's all for our rapid fire questions, unless
Yeah.
anyone can think of something really stupid right now.
What Hogwarts house are you in?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I am in Hufflepuff.
Ooh,
Nice.
you know
I
what?
can
That
see
makes
it. I
sense.
can see
That
it.
makes sense. Yeah, one cool thing that's fun about TV shows is like how close knit the cast and the crew are, and you see sometimes cast members stepping into the director's chair. I mean, it happened on Fuller House where we saw Dave and Candace a few times directing episodes. Then we had Jodie and Andrea as a director and a writer as well. We were just wondering if you have any desire to take over in any sort of like behind the scenes endeavor. I mean, not on Fuller House, but like in anything in the future.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself like a writer. I mean, like or a director. I mean,
I mean, you said your big love is really performing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, that's like why I got into all this. But I feel like, you know, if something happened down the line, I may like if I got really well versed in it, I would. But for now, it's like that is so far on the back burner. Like I haven't even considered it really.
You've got
I
time.
like learning. Yeah. The only thing that I think would be cool, like if I had to like really choose something, I like making the entire production, as in like myself, like being a producer. I would be cool with like picking out the people and like having it all run smoothly. I've made projects, quote unquote projects
Yeah.
before where I was like the overseer of everything, and I'm very good at like team management and stuff. So I feel like I could step into something like that pretty easily. So.
Great.
All right.
With a good creative direction. If I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know,
awesome.
One of these days.
Do we have any more questions? Either of you guys have anything?
I think that's all I have. I want to thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
coming
you.
in. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
you
you guys.
taking the time to like come in and talk to us because you know you literally didn't even know we existed until today. So it's awesome that you came in and
And this has
talked to
been
us for an
wonderful. It's
hour.
been so great.
yeah, it's been so awesome to like actually get to see the guy behind like one of our favorite characters on the show. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on and answering our questions and indulging us in our stupid bits.
Yeah, and thank you guys for being awesome fans of the show and having a podcast. I mean, that really means a lot to me. We literally wouldn't have a show without you guys, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll take us home. Guys, people listening. Guys.
Just the look on Michael's face when you started doing that. That voice.
So confused. I thought you were having a seizure or something.
Mark is a man of many voices.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please follow us on social media. We are at Fullest House Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, thanks so much for listening. This has been a really special episode for us. This has been a really special year for us, and we really appreciate that there are people out there who are listening. And I hope everybody out there has a wonderful day. Thank you so much. And until next time, may your houses be fuller, and we'll see you guys in year 2.
Also follow Michael Campion on everything. I don't know if you want to plug your social media real quick at the end.
Yeah, Instagram is just at Michael Campion. Sure. Go ahead.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you guys in year 2. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.